Hey, I'm glad to have you back here again with me. I haven't talked to you a lot lately, and a couple of personal problems here. Well froze up the other day, and surely would like to have the water working. But let's get down to the news. There's so much of it's on the Russian-Ukraine war, bad actors around the world. According to Bloomberg, Iran is possessing enough of uranium, 84% to be exact. Uh, when they get 100%, they can make nuclear weapons. Then they can really become badass actors in the Middle East and become even more aggressive against Israel. And I'm a supporter of Israel, but remember, Israel is not going to let them uh, destroy them. So if they get a bomb, there's going to be a major war over there. Now, local news: Jennifer McClellan, an African American lady, wins Virginia special election. As you recall, there was a congressman died. I forget his name. And so special election, but it is a Democrat replacing another Democrat. So it won't change the balance of the House. Hopefully, it won't be same old, same old. It'll be somebody that comes in there, rolls up her sleeves, and really wants to represent all the people of Virginia. And I say all the people. Don't come to Congress with an agenda. Um, Now, American voters support for Taiwan, and we do support Taiwan as an ally. We have treaties, and with treaties come obligations. But it does not include sending U.S. ground troops. Now, going back to my opinion, I always try to make to be fair to you and be an honest player. Um, this is my opinion. I believe in we have to fight sometimes, but I am tired of these long proxy wars where boys and girls come back missing arms, legs, blinded for life, wheelchairs for life, or even worse than that, just come back to be laid to rest in Arlington National Cemetery. And I know a little bit about that because I used to go to Arlington Cemetery 5, 6 days a week when I drove a tour bus in Washington, D.C. It's very, the honor guard, I can't say too much, enough of good things about them. They're just very dedicated to serving the American people and paying respect for a lost. Now, the murder suspect, he's in custody, but they killed the bishop out in California, says he did it because the bishop owed him money. And going back to my opinion, that's the problem with this woke society and this new thing. You can't take out your differences, your grievances with violence. It's unlawful. It's it's immoral. It's just not the way we do things. If the bishop owed him money, he should have went to either small claims court or got an attorney. The church, it would never made court. The Holy Mother Church would have made the bishop uh, cough up the money if the money was truly due. Um, Now, on my blog site, and I'm very proud of it, we have hundreds of thousands of people that visit it every year. And I've been playing with that, I guess, for about 6 years. I get things going right and I push the wrong button, it goes down for 3 or 4 weeks. A couple of times went down because I forgot to renew my contract. But we've added a couple more categories: food bank recipes and senior news. And that's being researched and produced by someone very special to me. And she does a lot of good research on it. And it's really quite interesting. So I invite you to come on over there and visit other sites. We do have a store on there now. It's under two different categories, but shop. Now, anything, I'm really just an affiliate. So we got um, Amazon merchandise on there. I've got quick banks. And I only endorse things that I personally have used and or read, and nothing based off of just a mere advertisement. But it's on there. The links are working very well, so you can go and just do your own research. But I would appreciate if you're going to make purchases, make it from my site because right now we're a nonprofit. So, okay, TSA, better known as Truck Drivers Travel Centers of America, plan to add 1,500 more truck parking spaces. So I guess that would be probably um, about 8, 10 more stops, and also Love's is opening up both of them. Now, as a truck as a truck driver and a bus driver and RVer, I've been to both Love's and TNA, and I've got good service. And the drivers, they treat the drivers great, but you can't get enough of parking spaces, especially on the East Coast. It's hell for the drivers that drive the East Coast because if you don't find a parking space at 4 o'clock, you're darn near not going to find one, and then you're liable to go over your hours, and then you're going to have some police officer or somebody who's never driven tell you you're supposed to plan ahead. Well, if you're going to plan ahead, the United States government needs to build more truck parking. We need more travel centers and truck stops coming like that, but especially out in the Midwest where we have plenty of solar power. It don't take much to make um, a pullover for the drivers, put some lights out there so they have some safety. Most drivers now have refrigerators on their trucks, so they're not going to starve. But they do need some lights out there, and it doesn't take that much to do it. And of course, that means that they do that, then the states won't be able to write up as many tickets. Now, Newt Gingrich, and I'm a huge fan of Newt. He was the Speaker of the House, and really led to recovery for the American people, the Republican Party, because for years the Democrats dominated Congress. But he suggests that we should visit George Washington's Mount Vernon home, and he couldn't be more correct. I used to go there. We only went to Mount Vernon 3, 4 days a week, and that was one of the jobs I had. And some of the things you're going to see there, you're going to see his home. They have a restaurant, and the women are all dressed in the colonial style. They give great service. And you go down the road about another mile and a half, you can see one of the old mills. Uh, and a gift shop, they got a couple good books on, well, they got a lot of books on George Washington. I got a couple. The first one went up during the American Revolution. After that, it covered him um, after the Revolution until he became president until his death. And as you know, he was got wet, and his actual death was that night. He read to his grandchildren, or, or his wife's grandchildren, I guess. He had no children of his own, but he basically, if they could have done a trach on him, he would have lived. They did bleed him a couple times, and he passed. And the book that's written about him, it was the first book ever written on George Washington. It was done by a doctor, and he wanted to do it in a way. Oh, my light went off. He wanted to do it in a way that the to give children an understanding because our country was young and we didn't have a mythology in those days. And so, and on the way down, if you come from Washington, D.C., you're going to take the George Washington Mount Vernon Parkway. And when you go into Alexander, that's the second oldest incorporated town in the United States. But you'll go right by Christ Church, and that's the church that George Washington and Robert E. Lee both attended. It only takes about 10 minutes for the ladies to give you a tour. You can see the windows are still the colonial, they're wavy because of being a hand blown glass. And you can sit in the pew that George Washington used to own, or you can sit in the pew that Robert E. Lee used to own. And you can also sit where Franklin Delano Roosevelt used to sit, along with Sir Winston Churchill. And that's a good tour. It's free, too. Don't cost any money. They'll take donations. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Sorry about the light going off. I got to learn how to adjust that stupid thing. Well, Russia, South Africa is having joint drills. And what does that mean to China? It means that we got too many cooks in the pot. And this is going to spin out of control, I'm afraid. We're going to be looking at World War III, my opinion. And good using a sliding rule. Type in First World War, 19 million people died. Second World War, about 52 million died. You extend your graph out 75 years, and that would give you a projection of 1.5 billion people we would lose if we went into World War III. Okay, nuclear. Speaking of, here's nuclear risk seen rise as Putin unpacks the last treaty and the only treaty with the U.S. And he's a bad actor. He's already said he wants to restore, this is my opinion, the Soviet Union the way it was. Now, we need to get off our butts and get the weapons to Ukraine if we're going to support them. No more piecemeal. The sooner we get this over with, the better we're all going to be. Again, I don't want to see our ground troops, but ask yourself, if he'd went in and taken over Ukraine like he thought he was going to do in 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 weeks, do you think he would stop there? I'll tell you what I think. I think if he did stop, he'd be the first lousy dictator in the history of mankind that stopped once he got going. The only thing stops him is more force. Now here, Speaker McCarthy, and I'm a friend of his, give Tucker Carlson of Fox News access to the January 6th footage, raising alarm, with the Democrats. What do they got against the American people seeing what really happened? Let's talk a little bit about that. As I told you, I lived in Washington, D.C. Up to the time I got married. In fact, I lived about 50 houses in North Capitol Street. You can look down and see the beautiful United States Capitol. We used to go in there every morning to take the tours. And so, could the Democrats have done something? Well, I'll tell you what was at their disposal, and you make up your mind. Roughly, the Capitol Police had around 2,000 officers when I left D.C. The D.C. Police Department had many, many more than that. And don't forget the D.C. Police Department has many different police stations. Now, the Park Police, they're the ones that control the National Mall. They control crowds of 100,000 people on a regular basis. The 4th of July is what comes to mind. And what do they have to handle crowd control? Well, they have horses, they have motorcycles, they have helicopters, they have prison buses and anything that they need to transport people away. And they have many outlets. There's one within less than a mile of the United States Capitol down on Haynes Point. It's visible for the public. I'm not giving away in military secrets. They have outlets in Rock Creek Park. They have outlets over in Anacostia. And all these things have officers to be dispatched. We've got military too. The United States Marine Corps base is over on M Street, I think 8th and M, Southwest, and that's open for the public. They have beautiful uh, um, Saturday night parades. I believe it's a Saturday night or Monday. Go over and visit the base, and that's the oldest federal building in D.C. The British didn't burn that down because the Marines really put up a heck of a fight. Um, on over to Arlington Cemetery, you got Fort Myer. They all got MPs. 60 miles south of us, you got the Quantico FBI Training Center, the Marine base down there. Going north, you got Fort Meade. Um, also, you got Fort Myer. Fort Meade is a huge place, plenty of military. And you got so many police outlets, more than I can possibly mention tonight. But all it required was the Speaker of the House to pick up the phone. And I do believe that all police departments have crowd control. So I like to say, when it comes to Speaker of the House, it's sort of like driving a horse and carriage. If the driver don't know where he's going, the horses certainly don't. Well, I talked a little longer than I planned, and I'm sorry the light went off for just a few seconds. We got a lot of wind out here right now, and it's making things difficult. But please come back. And I'll go to my website, cowboyron.com. I'll try to get some more exciting news events on there, and visit my other characters. My favorite heroes, things like Roy Rogers, Dr. Martin Luther King, Bill Pickett, Audie Murphy, old songs I got on there, like Oh My Darling Clementine, When You and I Were Young Maggie. Just anything that comes in my mind, I put on there. Well, good night and God bless.